Hey there, this is Pat. Just going to do a quick demo of something that's been brought to my attention by several customers and prospects lately. Um, and it relates to if we're utilizing Youreka to capture data while out in the field. There are certain times in which we want to actually have somebody fill out multiple different forms while they're in the field, and it's quite possible that information from one form might possibly drive the fact that you need to fill out a subsequent form. So we're kind of creating these dependencies between one form and another. And we're needing to have Youreka kind of drive the user through their first form and then tell the user which form they should fill out next and kind of intelligently bring them to a new place to answer new questions beyond that first form that you're filling out. So what I've done here is put together a little demo that will show you how we can take Youreka out of the box and bolt on some new functionality here that's been created to allow you to be able to do that, to allow you to be able to automatically prescribe new forms to your end users based on what they say in a previous form. So there's several different pieces to this that I want to talk you through. The first one is related to this concept of form sequences. And then the second one that I'll talk to after that is how we can start to tie discoveries into the standard Youreka form object model. And so there's two ways that we're going to kind of solve this problem of providing somebody with a subsequent form after they're finished with their first one. So the first one I want to talk about is sequences. So there's a new set of objects that I created here in the environment that facilitate what I'm about to show you. So the first one is form sequences. The second one is form sequence templates. And the third one is form families. And all three of these are essential for what I'm about to show you. So let's say that I have a use case where I need users to fill out 3 different forms in one sitting, and all those forms are related to one another. One thing I can do is I can create what I'm calling a form sequence, and I could just call this Pat's form sequence. I could give it a description if I want to, and I'll have it as a status of in use. And I have a setting here that I'll explain both of these. The first one is I want all the forms to be available at one time. And then the second one is I want the forms to kind of drip. So I want the first one to be filled out first, and then I want the second one to be available only after the first one is completed. So I'm going to click on mobile available upon create, which means that all of them are going to be available at the same time. Now, when I set this up, we're going to be brought to our page here where we have our sequence. And then, as you can see on the right-hand side, we have some related lists that are pretty important. The first one is what templates are going to be used inside of this sequence. Tell me what kinds of forms it is that we're going to be filling out. So I can click on New here, and I can decide what form template we're going to use. So this is going to be form template number 1. And we're going to have this one go first. Okay, so that is where our first form template. And I'm going to do this 2 more times here. I'm going to do it for form template number 2. These are really dumb names, but they're intuitive enough, I think, for the demo. And actually, we're going to want to make sure that that is a sort order 2. And then I've got form template number 3. And that's sort order number 3. So now I have 3 form templates that are going to be used in this specific sequence. Okay. Now, quite honestly, the sort order doesn't really matter here because we're going to give them all three forms at the same time. But it does matter here in a second when we do the drip. So now I've got this sequence set up. It's in use. It's active. So I can go ahead and let's put it to use. So one thing that we can do is I could go to maybe my first, I could maybe add a button here that would kick this off, but I might just go to my first form template here, and I'm going to create a new form, and we're going to connect this to an account in the system. And now that I have this form in the system, what I'll do is I will refresh my mobile app over here, and we'll see that one form is now available for me on my mobile device. But had I created that form and linked it to that sequence that we just created, Pat's form sequence, what immediately happens is the tie between that form and the sequence generates the other forms that are as a part of that sequence. And so it makes sure not only that form number 1, which is what we just created here, is here, but we also created 2 other forms with the other 2 templates that are a part of that sequence. And they're all available to us on the mobile device at one time because the sequence defined the fact that all of the forms are going to be available at once. So the user can go through, they can fill out each form, and I just kept these really simple for this demo. So we click yes, we click yes, we click yes, and each of these forms will then get submitted back to the system for it to update the records here in Salesforce. So now that we've completed all 3 of our forms, anybody can go ahead and refresh our page, and we'll see that all 3 of those forms are in fact completed. Now, what's tying these 3 forms together is what I'm calling a form family, and that is the parent of all 3 of these individual form records. And we can visit this in the system too. We can see that here's the 3 forms that are tied together. We could even say, all 3 of those have been submitted, since they were created, right? So this form family allows us to have a view into all 3 of those forms. Now let me go back. If we go back to our form sequence that we just created, and we change this setting here, and we say, nope, we're going to go on over to drip. Now the way that this works is I'm going to go back over to a form template here, and I'll create a new form. And as soon as I have this new form, what we'll notice, let me actually back up here really quick. Sorry, I want to clear my mobile device with all the forms here so we've got a clean slate. Okay. So we're going to create a new form record. And it's going to be tied to Hernandez Foods. All right, so we refresh our app. We've got form number 1, and form number 1 alone is here waiting for us to fill out. Now, if I go over to the sequence tab here, and I add Pat's form sequence, it'll be the same thing as last time, except what we'll notice is that we're utilizing the drip setting. So the other forms have been created, but they're not available on the mobile device. So if I refresh my page, nothing's going to change. We're just going to see that the same first form is there for us. But what's really cool about this is when I click in here, and I fill out my form, and I click submit, what's going to happen is not only is this form submitted, but we'll see that the second form has now made itself visible. And so then we can click in and fill out that form and submit it. And then the third one will drip. And we can see that one come through. And when we click on the third one and we click submit, well, now we're done. And I can refresh my page over here and we'll see that all three of those forms are in fact submitted. So this is what it looks like to apply form sequences to a form that allows you to basically say, I want my user to fill out certain forms in a certain order without getting started on a subsequent one prematurely. So that's the first way that we can basically define a path from one form to another for somebody to fill out. Now, the second piece to this is, what if the information in one of the forms itself should define whether or not a subsequent form is going to be created? And the answer is, that's where our discoveries can come into play. So I'm going to show you one more example here. So we'll clear the board. No more forms on the mobile app. I'll go ahead and refresh here. All right. So we'll refresh the mobile app and we have no forms. Now, let's create a new form and assign it to our users. So we'll use the same form template number 1 and we'll tie it to our account here and we'll save that form. Now, I'm not even going to bother with the sequences. Those don't really have anything to do with this portion of the demo. What we are going to do is refresh our mobile app. We'll see that one of the forms that we just created is now available over there. And what we can do is, within this actual form, if I click no, it's going to say, if you answer this next question with a yes, another form will get created using Youreka's Discoveries feature. So I'll click yes, and I'll click submit. And what's going to happen is, because I clicked yes, an extra form will then get generated for me as the end user. And then I can click into that one, and it says this form was created as a result of an answer to a question in a previous form. What do you think about that? I like that a lot. And you go ahead and click submit. Now, the plumbing behind this right here is that we're tapping into Youreka's discovery types. So in a discovery type, we can basically configure certain things. And I've just basically said, when this discovery is created, I want to generate a new form. And I want to use this form template to do it. And in fact, I can even add it to the form families if we were using form families or form sequences as a part of this. So we could even combine these two solutions together to be utilizing forms, form sequences, form families, and you can even make it so that the discoveries are adding additional forms considering the answers to certain questions inside of any of these individual assessments. So that's a lot right there, but I hope that this is kind of an interesting way to take Youreka out of the box and really push it to the limit by bolting on some of these additional features, allowing us to provide new forms to individuals out in the field just only when the time is right, after they fill out certain forms or after they answer certain questions. We'll give them more stuff to capture while they're in the field. So let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.